Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Radharani. Gopi Janavallabha Radharani. Yashodanandana Bhuja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Bhuja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Brahmachari. Yamuna Tira Brahmachari. Jayam Vishnu Pad, Paramahansa Parivajrakacharya, Sotara Sotara, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Rantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, Nitai Gaura Pramanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 9, Text 12. And Sanskrit will go a little bit like this. Not so good on the Sanskrit, but I'll give it a go. Nati prasaditi tato pachito pachare.
Nati prasidati tato pachito pachare.
Aradita suragane hide padakame.
Aradita suragane nirvana
Yat savabhuta dayaya sadala yayako.
Yasama Buddha Dayasana Lavaya Yaiko.
Nana Janeshvavahita Suhid Ananta Atma
Anandane Savita Surinanda Atma.
Nati Prasaditi Tato Pachito Pachare
Nati Prasadi Tatato Pachiko Pachare.
Aradita Suragane Hide Padakame
Aradita Suragane Nirvana Kamai.
Yat Savabhuta Dayaya Sadala Bhayako
Yasava Buddha Dayasana Lavaya Yaiko.
Nana Janesh Vavahita Surid Anta Atma.
Nanandane Samrita Surinanda Atma.
Some more try. Word for word. Na,
Na
never. Ati, very much. Prasidati, become satisfied. Tata, as much as. Upachita, by pompous arrangement. Upachare, with much worshipable paraphernalia. Araditi, aradita, sorry. Being worshipped. Sura Ganahe, by the celestial demigods. Hridibada Kamahe, with hearts full of all sorts of material desires. Yat, that which. Sava, all. Bhuta, living entities. Dayaya, to show them causeless mercy. Asat, non-devotee. Alabhyaya, not being achieved. Eka, one without a second. Nana, various. Janeshu, in living entities. Abhahita, perceived. Suhrit, well-wishing friend. Antaha, within. Atma, supersoul. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki. My Lord, You are not very much satisfied by the worship of the demigods, who arrange for your worship very pompously with various paraphernalia, but who are full of material hankerings. You are situated in everyone's heart as the Supersoul, just to show your causeless mercy, and you are the eternal well-wisher, but you are unavailable for the non-devotee. Please repeat. My Lord, you are not very much satisfied by the worship of the demigods, who arrange for worship very pompously with various paraphernalia, but who are full of material hankerings. You are situated in everyone's heart as the Supersoul, just to show your causeless mercy, and you are the eternal well-wisher, but you are unavailable for the non-devotee. Purport. Purport's quite a long one. The demigods in the celestial heavenly planets, who are appointed administrators of the material affairs, are also devotees of the Lord, but at the same time, they have desires for material opulence and sense gratification. The Lord is so kind that He awards them all sorts of material happiness, more than they can desire, but He is not satisfied with them because they are not pure devotees. The Lord does not want any of His innumerable sons, the living entities, to remain in the material world of threefold miseries, to perpetually suffer the material pangs of birth, death, old age, and disease. The demigods in the heavenly planets, and many devotees on this planet also, want to remain in the material world as devotees of the Lord and take advantage of material happiness. They do so at the risk of falling down to the lower status of life, of existence, and this makes the Lord dissatisfied with them. Pure devotees are not desirous of any material enjoyment, nor are they averse to it. They completely dovetail their desires with the desires of the Lord and perform nothing on their personal account. Arjuna is a good example. On his own sentiment, due to family affection, Arjuna did not want to fight. But finally, after hearing Srimad Bhagavad Gita, he agreed to fight in the interest of the Lord. Therefore, the Lord is very much satisfied with pure devotees because they do not act for sense gratification, but only in terms of the Lord's desire. As Paramatma, or Supersoul, He is situated in everyone's heart, always giving everyone the chance of good counsel. Thus, everyone should take the opportunity and render transcendental loving service to Him wholly and solely. The non-devotees, however, are neither like the demigods nor like the pure devotees, but are averse to the transcendental relationship with the Lord. They have revolted against the Lord and must perpetually undergo the reactions of their own activities. Bhagavad Gita 4.11 states, Hayata mam prapadyate tams tataiva bhajamsyaham. Although the Lord is equally kind to every living being, the living beings, for their own part, are able to please the Lord to either a greater or lesser extent. The demigods are called sakama devotees, or devotees with desires in mind, while the pure devotees are called nishkama devotees, because they have no desires for their personal interest. The sakama devotees are self-interested because they do not think of others, and therefore they are not able to satisfy the Lord perfectly. Whereas the pure devotees take the missionary responsibility of turning non-devotees into devotees, and they are therefore able to satisfy the Lord more than the demigods. The Lord is unmindful of the non-devotees, although he was sitting within everyone's heart as a well-wisher and super soul. However, he also gives them the chance to receive his mercy through his pure devotees who are engaged in missionary activities. Sometimes the Lord himself descends for missionary activities, as he did in the form of Lord Chaitanya, but mostly he sends his bona fide representatives, and thus he shows his causeless mercy towards the non-devotees. The Lord is so satisfied with his pure devotees that he wants to give them the credit for the missionary success, although he could do the work personally. This is a sign of his satisfaction with his pure Nishkama devotees, compared to the Sakama devotees. By such transcendental activities, the Lord simultaneously free from the charge of partiality and exhibits his pleasure with his devotees. Now a question may arise. If the Lord is sitting in the hearts of non-devotees, why are they not moved to become devotees? It may be answered that the stubborn non-devotees are like the barren land or alkaline field where no agricultural activities can be successful. As part and parcel of the Lord, every individual living entity has a minute quantity of independence, and by misuse of this minute independence, the non-devotees commit offense after offense to both the Lord and his pure devotees engaged in missionary work. As a result of such acts, they become as barren as an alkaline field where there is no strength to produce. My Lord, you are not very much satisfied by the worship of the demigods, who arranged for your worship very pompously with various paraphernalia, but who are full of material hankerings. You are situated in everyone's heart as a super soul, just to show your causeless mercy. And you are the eternal well-wisher, but you are unavailable for the non-devotees. So here we have prayers continuing of Lord Brahma. So this chapter, as Ishvaka mentions all the time, the chapter has it's not just named that because someone wanted to name it that, it has a meaning behind it. So here Lord Brahma is realizing the gravity of the service that has been given, which is he's the secondary creator. So he is giving all the raw ingredients by Lord Vishnu, and with these raw ingredients, he is the one who creates all the forms and anything we see within as well. So it's a pretty big job. Therefore, he's regarded as the most intelligent being with a material body that's residing within the universe. So this is if we look at this chapter, we see the process of how we can approach someone in a way that we will get their blessings and we will be able to be empowered by that particular person. Here, Lord Brahma is speaking to Garbhodakashayi Vishnu personally. We might not be as fortunate as that, but still, we have people more advanced than us. And just by singing a little praise, everybody likes to hear a little praise every now and then. It's a nice thing to do for others. And as devotees, we're always looking to see the good in others. I think even in management and business and stuff like that, they have a concept where if you need to say something to someone, you first say some things that you appreciate about that person, and then you give them the directive, whatever that may be, and then you finish it off again with a little bit of a glorification. So this is not a new thing. This is Lord Brahma at the beginning of the universe, and he's engaging in this. So here we're hearing 4 things he mentions in his verse here. Can anyone remember any of them? He has 4 different ways he's speaking about Krishna in this particular verse.
Not pleased with the demigods.
Yeah. So the demigods, they do these very elaborate ceremonies for worshipping Lord Vishnu and Krishna. But because they have this, they're still not necessarily on the pure devotee platform, their worship is tinged. They always, they have there's a self-interest in their worship. So Krishna is happy with that. It's not that he's not pleased with that, but at the same time, he prefers something that is done for him that can be very simple, like in the Bhagavad Gita he mentions, if someone offers me with love and devotion a flower, a piece of fruit, a leaf or some water, he will accept that. More so than all these riches that the demigods have access to. Of course he accepts their worship, but at the same time, someone who is offering with full love, something very simple, Krishna is much more happy with that. He doesn't need to be eating the food that we offer or the things that we can give him in this world. That's all for our benefit, actually. Krishna already owns everything. So by following what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, by the practice of devotional service, and of course we're also in the same category at the moment, well, I'll speak for myself, of the Sakama Bhakta, where we're starting out in our devotional practice, but we still have some material desires. Occasionally we'll have those moments where it's like, Krishna, I just want to give my heart, I want to do everything I can to please you. But then through our day, through our weeks, the desires will come up. And that's okay. We're already, just by starting the process, we're leaps and bounds ahead of, as Lord Brahma mentions at the end of non-devotee, we'll talk about that more later. So it's important when we're doing our service, when we are engaged in whatever it is that we do, that we have the correct mentality, and that mentality is, a mood of gratitude, a mood of humility, because we can, especially after some time, we can become a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Like our service can feel a little tedious because, I'm doing so much service. But we have to understand that when Krishna is pleased with our service, then he will give us more. So when we can understand philosophically and with the right intention and mood, we can do a lot more service and be happily situated in that service. And as the purification happens, our desires become secondary, the material ones. The needs are a different thing. The body has needs. We need our physical and mental situation to be met, but at the same time, not overindulge. So, of course we all have a little hiccup here and there, but that's fine. So we start off as Sakama Bhaktas, but through the process of purification, we will get to the stage of Nishkama. The Nishkama Bhaktas are the pure devotees. So Krishna is much more happy to receive their worship, not because he thinks they're better, but just because of the way he can reciprocate with them. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that he can only reciprocate according to what we're willing to give. So if we can only give a little bit, Krishna can only give a little bit. He doesn't force himself upon us. But if we're able to open our heart and give more, then Krishna can give more. And then in that reciprocation, we feel the presence, we feel the connection. As Bhata and Panchali were mentioning last night in their class, this connection, the divine connection, are really going on with that point a lot. Anything else? Can you remember from the verse? There's so he mentions about the demigods and how with their worship, he's not necessarily fully pleased with that because of their self-interest. And Brahma says, you are situated in everyone's heart as a super soul, just to show your causeless mercy. Anybody got any ideas how Krishna is showing his causeless mercy just by being present in our heart? Anybody got any ideas?
He's guiding us and helping us to know that he's not electing us.
Yeah.
Of course,
He's guiding us, that's right. He's guiding us and giving us direction. Anything else? Yeah, attachment to the devotees.
You just connect with them at any time with your will. Attached to the desire for that.
He's accessible through the form of Paramatma. Yeah. This feature, Super Soul, is actually not present in the spiritual world because our consciousness and desires are all already dovetailed with Krishna. But when we decide to come to this world, Krishna expands into this form of Super Soul and he comes with us on our sojourn in this world. And he is a witness. He's always giving the results of our activities to us. He is what's the word? My English is slipping me today. Always get a little nervous up here. But the Super Soul is awarding from our activities that we've done, and he's reciprocating with the desires that we have. So he's creating the situations in which we find ourselves in. So when we desire to just be doing whatever we want to do out there, Krishna's okay with that. He will. There will be a situation where there'll be no concept or no connection to understanding anything about who we are or where we come from, what's the purpose of life. We'll just get stuck into it, busy, working, earning money, trying to find some pleasure in this world. But at some point, we've all been there, we've all tried that. But at some point, we kind of start to realize the futility of that, how doesn't seem to be getting the result I'm looking for. I thought, actually, David Ridaswamy has a really nice phrase, he calls it emotional forecasting. So we have a concept that we want to do something. So then the mind comes up with all these sort of scenarios where, yeah, I'm going to go on this holiday. Oh, you're going to go parasailing, going to go snorkeling, going to do all these amazing things. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be great. And we get there, it's pouring rain. There's a hurricane, whatever it is. But we get sunburned. It never quite adds up to what our emotional forecasting is. So there's quite a few different reasons for that, of course, but for the soul, we're actually, the pleasure that we're used to experiencing, we can't get anything close to that in this world. And we're trying to extract pleasure from this world, but the level of enjoyment and pleasure that the soul is actually used to, it can't be found in this world. And it's not till we begin our spiritual journey that we can again start to feel a little bit of that pleasure that we're actually used to having. And that comes through our devotional service, through being in conversations, talking about Krishna, hearing about Krishna, coming and seeing the deities, kirtan, japa. This is how we connect soul to the super soul, to Krishna. So the specific mercy of the super soul is he is not judging us. He's giving us our desires, although he may not think that that's the best thing for us. But still, as I said before, he doesn't force himself on us. Just as a parent, especially when your kids become teenagers, you love them and you have their best interests at heart, but they got other ideas. They want to go party, they want to go take this and try that and be here and hang out with these people. And parents may see and understand that it's not the best thing for them, but at the same time, they're aware that if they just get too heavy on them, they'll push them away. So through the experiences that the children have, then they get the realization, okay, should have listened to my parents. They actually do know what they're talking about. So the super soul is very similar in that way, that he will grant us, he will arrange for desires for our, and this desires that we have in this world to be met. But then, as we experience those desires, we will see that it doesn't really give me, through the emotional forecasting that I made, that I had, hasn't given me what I thought it was going to give me. So then, of course, we try something else because we think, okay, I didn't get it with this. What about this? And we try that. Okay, didn't quite get that one either. What about this? It's like the old story of dangling the carrot in front and we're running after it. So material world has so much glitter and glamour to offer us. And it's not that we can't have it or experience it. We just have to have the right state of mind, the right state of consciousness. And everything is here for us to use properly. Like in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, there's all these different yagyas or sacrifices given and ways in which we have to use the things that have been given to us. So through doing these special ceremonies and by understanding that everything has been given to me as a gift and I need to give whatever I've been given as a gift back to our source, to Krishna, then there's actually a cycle within the universe that Krishna calls it a chakra, a wheel that's meant to turn. So we receive and we give, receive, give. And when that's going nicely, we will get whatever we need in this world with abundance. But when we start to receive and hold and take, then this wheel begins to stop and doesn't turn. So when the wheel stops, the giving stops. The receiving stops. So the things of this world start to become less. We don't have access to them as much. So, and Mother Nature does this also on her part. She will withhold the bounty that she has within her earth, within the air, within the water, all the different things we need to sustain our life. They begin to be withdrawn. So Krishna, Lord Brahma also mentions, I'm running out of time here, the Lord Brahma also mentions that Lord Krishna is always our ever well-wisher, also he mentions here. But you are unavailable for the non-devotees. So it's kind of a contradiction there. Krishna is our ever well-wisher, so he's the ever well-wisher of everyone, of every living entity. But at the same time, as I mentioned earlier, if we don't want to know Krishna, we don't want to know anything of those kind of things, then he's okay with that. He's totally okay with that. He's willing to wait. He's willing to buy time. And he just gives us the things that we want from this world, and he's just waiting for that moment where at least we come to the point of a sakama bhakta, where we have some material desires still, but we understand I'm not the center of this world. There's someone much greater than me. In Prabhupada's books, the main thing he's trying to convince us of is how great Krishna is. Krishna is so much. We can't even conceive how great Krishna is. And when we start to get a glimpse of that, then we can, with some humility, we can see it's like, geez, like all this time I thought I was, something. And it's not that, we self-loathe, and it's not like that at all. It's more, we appreciate Krishna and we see ourselves in perspective to that. So Krishna is like, okay, I'll give you, like this universe. We've been trying to understand this universe for God knows how long. Science has had to go for the last 250 years. But, for thousands of years, this contemplation of how the universe is created, how it's maintained, how it works, so many different philosophers and sages, they've all been trying to understand. Some more than others can understand. But this universe is actually a very small universe within the creation of God. There's millions and millions of universes, actually, within what we call the material creation. And then the material creation itself is only 1/4 of God's creation, of the entire creation. So 3/4 of creation at this point we're not aware of. We're not even aware of what's going on within the universe, let alone the millions of other universes, which is only 1/4 of God's creation, which is, just imagine the size. So when it comes to creating what's happening in the material world, there's a form of Lord Vishnu called Mahavishnu, Karanadakasha Vishnu. So he lies down within an ocean and he starts to go into Yoga Nidra, actually. This is where the Yoga Nidra comes from. So he's he's in this kind of conscious slumber state, and he begins to manifest universes from his body. And it's said that when he breathes out, creation happens, and when he breathes in, creation is wound up. So when creation happens, in our years, it's given in the scriptures that that particular time frame, according to earthly time, is 311 trillion, 40 billion years. So that's one exhalation of Mahavishnu. 311 trillion, 40 billion years. He breathes in, everything is wound up. Breathes out, 311 trillion, 400 billion years. So just imagine the size of Mahavishnu. Just, it's inconceivable. Let alone creating millions of universes and then everything within the universe creating what Brahma does what he does. And then not only that, for us souls who want to come and enjoy this world, he expands himself into the heart of all living entities. And then he expands himself again into the energy which is holding everything, the spiritual aspect to everything within the creation as well. So it's like, okay, I can cook a few little meals, I can drive a car. It's like, what can I do compared to someone like that? So, and that's not even Krishna. Krishna is doing even more than that. Lord Vishnu is only one form of Krishna. And then there's all these different manifestations or expansions or incarnations leading up to where Krishna is in the spiritual world. So when we say Krishna is great, we have to understand how great he is. And that helps us to develop this mood of humility also, because we're not necessarily the most humble or respectful or all those qualities that we're trying to cultivate. So by seeing and appreciating the qualities of devotees, around us, and those more senior to us and more advanced than us, and an understanding who Krishna is and how great he is, it helps a lot in our spiritual life. Because, in this world we hear about celebrities, sports stars, movie stars, whatever it may be, politicians. And just by hearing about their lives, we have a kind of like awe and reverence for them. It's like, wow, this guy's amazing. He can surf up or surf down these 100-foot waves on a flaming board, and then it smashes down and he just gets out of the way. It's like, wow, this guy's like crazy. Or someone's can, 100-meter dash in 9 seconds, whatever it is, 9.6 or 7 seconds. It's like, it's amazing. How fast is this guy? But for a devotee, we can connect all these things. We can see that all these abilities, Krishna says, I'm the ability in man. So anything we see that somebody is super talented or super good at something, we can appreciate this is the energy of Krishna. This person has been empowered by Krishna to do this, whatever it is. So maybe I'll stop there and stop rambling on. Anybody have any comments, corrections, questions? Mr. Anton.
Hare Krishna. Krishna Ghan Prabhu, thank you so much for the class. In purport for this verse, Srila Prabhupada says that every living entity has a bit of independence, and non-devotees commit offense to Lord and devotees, and as a result they become barren, which means bleak and lifeless. I looked up the definition of barren. And it seems quite scary thought, because meeting devotees or Lord is a double-edged sword. it can either liberate you or you can commit offense and, become bleak and barren, bleak and lifeless. My question is, there are so many offenses that can be committed. It's even having attachment to material desires an offense. Also in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that the nature of material world, that our material body and our senses just meet the object of their senses, and that's not an offense. So I struggle to differentiate between material attachments and when my senses just meet object of the senses. Can you help me to understand that?
Well, our senses are designed in such a way to meet the sense objects. So that's not we can't change that in where we're at now. Like, even in the spiritual world, there's forms, and our spiritual senses interact with those forms. So that is a process in the material world which won't change. Like we hear, we see, we smell, we taste, we feel. That will always be there. But how we, like you mentioned about the attachment. So when we become attached in a way that is, in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives a sequence of events that takes place which ends in our intelligence being lost. And the first step in that sequence is contemplating the sense objects. So if we are overly contemplating whether it's something we want, whether it's something somebody said to us or a situation that happened to us, like our minds, they start to get on a little roller coaster sometimes. Somebody did something, and then later on you have all these scenarios, like, oh, I should have said that. I would have defeated them if I would have said that. And, whatever it may be, partners, or whether it's just some, ice cream. I like ice cream. So we start to think, geez, it'd be nice to have some ice cream. They're small things, but at the same time, with that contemplation, if we really keep contemplating, then there's an attachment arises. So we become attached to wanting an outcome or a thing, whatever it may be. So when that happens, we have to do something about it. So we do some activity. So with that activity, there's an outcome. So did I get what I wanted or I didn't get what I wanted? So if we don't get what we wanted, we get anger. Anger comes up. I wasn't fulfilled. I didn't get my needs. And if I did get what I want, you don't necessarily feel satisfied all the time. Sometimes, yes. But if you look back, like I look back in my life and I had a lot of fun, a lot of good times with my friends and, whatever it may be. But at the same time, if I really analyze those situations after doing those things, I still felt like an emptiness in my heart. It wasn't giving me really what I was looking for. We were having parties, we were jumping up and dancing, and whatever it may be. And it was great, I had a good time. But it doesn't fulfill the heart. And that's what we're looking for. So when we are in this world, the sense objects are there. We just have to learn the process of being able to connect them to Krishna. And Krishna does that in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 10th chapter. He gives a whole, like nearly half the chapter is just saying, of bodies of water on the ocean, of fishes on the shark, of beasts on the lion. So we can see within this world, and the Bhagavatam also gives different descriptions. So we can begin to see this world and remember Krishna. And that's when those attachments and those problems with the sense objects it's not as much. Rather than being like this, it's meeting and there's an interaction, but it's not binding. It's not like holding us. Because anything we want to enjoy separately from Krishna is binding. Even if we're doing good things, karma is still playing out. So, I don't know if that helped.
You mentioned, thank you for the class. You mentioned that sometimes we may have those moments when we desire to only please Krishna, but then the day goes by, you said, and then we forget or we get caught, or even in our life. So what's your recommendation or your experience in terms of maintaining oneself in that consciousness that I want to only please Krishna, not just get distracted?
I think there's many things that we can do in our day-to-day lives, which will improve that, and I would say mostly that centers around our spiritual practice, our sadhana. If we have a good, strong sadhana, then that will carry us through the day. Of course, there's always times when our chanting or our hearing is not up to the standard we would like, but it's a practice. So the more we practice, the better we get at it. I think understanding the teachings of Bhagavad Gita is very important because Krishna gives us, your little presentation you do in the Gita, especially like the last 6 chapters, focuses on what we call the prison house in your presentation. So it helps us, gives us tools to be able to see how we're influenced in this world by association, by the modes, by the environment, by what we eat, by all those kind of things. So it's essential to understand the teachings of the Gita, I would say, in order to be able to navigate our way in this world. And association, enthusiasm is one of the qualities mentioned that will keep us moving forward, propelling us. So enthusiasm to hear about Krishna. Hearing of all the processes, number one, it's the first. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. So hearing, it doesn't sound like much, right? Just got to hear about Krishna. But the power of the sound vibration, it's very potent. Just hearing about Krishna, hearing about Krishna's pastimes, reading the Bhagavad Gita and learning about Krishna, learning about who we are, learning about the material world. It's all very purifying for the consciousness, and it has this, the soul is kind of in a slumber to some degree in our present, in our state where we're just out in the world. So hearing about Krishna is like the alarm clock, and then we start to chant. So the chanting is like, sometimes on the alarm clock we push the snooze button, and when we start chanting, the alarm goes off again. So we're slowly waking up, and the more we wake up, the more we get those glimpses of, geez, Krishna, I just want to serve you. I've had enough of this, whatever it may be. But yeah, it takes some time, Patience is another quality of the devotee. And understanding that Krishna will reciprocate with our desires. And if that's truly our desire, then Krishna will help us with that. Yeah. Okay, we've gone a bit over time. Thank you for hearing. Kantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki.